Hi, everybody. We continue our series about the meta, and this episode is about the free folk. Enjoy.
Now, we all rank first the free folk, then we're gonna begin with them. Uh, After we all five of us vote, free folk finish with 8 points. That means that more lower you are, better you are. That means that we all agree that free folk are crazy good. And we're gonna let Clarence.
I didn't. Me, I put them third.
I know, no,
I
fourth.
think even
You're
fourth.
the only
Fourth.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm the only one. Yeah.
but the further vote
Sorry.
was first.
Yeah.
But we're gonna let Clarence begin to explain us why they are strong, what kind of lists actually in the meta are really good, and what will be his wish for balance patch for them if they were to occur in the near future.
Absolutely. So the reason why free folk are number one, there's a few reasons. In no particular order, one of the reasons is something that helps you win the game is activation. The more activations you have, you can wait your opponent out, make them, activate, move, and then you can just take turn after turn after turn to charge, attack, and just kill a unit off, and then gain even more activation advantage. And free folk are amazing at that because even though they have 4 point units, 5 point units, 6 point units, 7 point, all the way to 9 point units, their 4 point units are amazing value for their points. And you can literally take 10 activations, 10 4 point units in your list. So you look at Raiders, look at Trappers, look at the Chariot, look at their basic NCUs, Val, Craster, and Ygritte. They're all amazing, and most factions can only get the 7 or 8 activations. So to get 10 off the bat is crazy. After that, you have arguably one of the best commanders in the game, Mance Raider. Most commanders have some sort of weakness, but Mance, literally, his commander card, first of all, fills a gap in the Free Folk army. They're supposed to be weak to morale, and normally the morale's 7, and they take extra wounds from panic sometimes. But Mance just fixes that. Nope, everyone around me is morale 5. So only take physical damage, and you don't really take morale damage. That's huge. It's huge. It literally almost halves the damage they take. His rules are great. He's got counter strategy. Counter strategy, I think, is kind of undervalued, but it can turn off really key cards, like the Baratheon cards like Conviction or Justice or Final Strike. It can turn off Night's Watch cards that they use for defense, like shields and fire. It can block shield wall. It can block set for charge, lance supremacy. It can really, cancel off a lot of powerful abilities. So Mance's abilities are great. His cards are insane. Wilding Diplomacy controls the tactics board. Long Plan lets you find the card that you need, like Endless Horde or Wilding Diplomacy. And Predictable Maneuvers, I think, is also an underrated card. People don't use it, I think, properly. They use it too early. But the crazy thing about predictable maneuvers is when you use it at the end. When your opponent is down to their last activation, you say, "Great, predictable maneuvers. I'm going to choose that unit, and I'm going to choose an NC that's already activated. If that unit is in combat, it has to do something. It has to attack or retreat. So before you can attack or retreat, I get to attack you. If I have a really strong unit like a giant, not a giant, Mag the Mighty, I get to attack with Mag before you get to attack. So that card can cause devastating damage. So Mance is crazy, and the typical list that people build with him is, as I said, 10 activations. You put him in trappers to hide behind the enemy, to hide behind the your front line and stay safe. Trappers are great because they have hidden traps. Hidden traps can slow the opponent down. They can do auto hits. The auto hits are really important because it gives you a chance to literally one shot your opponent. If you do a wound or two, and then you charge in with a chariot, you play, there's too many for the extra wound damage. That can just literally destroy a tray in one go. Um, and the movement is huge too because if you plant down bogs, that's -1 movement. You take your grit, it's another -1 movement. You play traps, it's another -1 movement. It's literally, if they march, they lose 4 inches of movement because your grit takes 1 movement off their movement stat. So instead of marching 10 for a 5 point unit, or a movement 5 unit, sorry, they only get to go move 6 instead, which is humongous.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Me, Mance, I hate him, and I can actually, like you said, free folk used to have a big disadvantage was their morale, and because right now he have his moral bubble is so strong, and I think all you said is true. and you just maybe pass over one rule that I hate is that the raider don't give a victory point when you kill them.
Hmm. Absolutely, yeah. The insignificant is crazy because you can also summon more raiders that can jump on objectives. They can charge block. They can stay very very safe.
I agree with you, and the fact that, like you said, you have so much activation, you can put some in on objective, make point, and still have a lot of free fodder to send to your
Right.
opponent.
Yeah.
And while that you make victory point, and if you want to kill your guys, you need to invest a lot of force and in the combat. And while he's doing this, he is not making victory point. And even if he is able to kill the raider, the trapper, the chariot, but okay, trapper chariot give point, but even if he is able to kill the raider, after that he is behind in victory point, and it's going to be very hard for him to catch up.
And there's actually a lot of healing in the free folk army. You know, with Praster
Ref-
healing 2. He's got the little mini Tycho to heal an extra 2. You can what's the
Reform
word?
and regroup.
Regroup and reform to heal another 4 from somewhere. You know, you can really hold up a unit longer than you might expect. Um, I think that if you play Game of Thrones against free folk, it's almost impossible to win. And you need a variety of scenarios at a tournament so that you have to make them come to the middle and fight them. But even then, it's really tough, like we said, because
Oh, I
they can
agree.
just
You
wait.
need to have an army so aggressive, so with so much offense to beat the free folk because of that, and it's almost impossible. That's the reason why I think we almost all put them first. Sam, how can you beat this kind of tactic? What do you think is aggressive enough, strong enough to take out all army of free folk? And we can not forget that in the tactic deck of the free folk, you have the card that can bring a unit of raider or unit that have been killed on the board. That mean that even if you are able to kill raiders, more were gonna come. That mean that it's almost impossible if you play against 10 unit, you add 2, 12 units. You cannot kill 12 unit in 6 rounds.
You definitely can. I've placed them fourth, I think, not because I underestimate them or anything. Everything Clarence has said, I really agree with them. I could have placed them third or even second, maybe without any doubt, because they have so many good elements. I think one thing I don't remember if you mentioned it. Sorry, but the insignificant, the fact that you have units that give 0 victory point, it's so strong, in my opinion. Uh, so at the risk of sounding arrogant, which I'm really not, I'm sorry, I never lost to Free Folk. I don't say this to brag at all. Every game I've played in tournament against Free Folk, I won every time.
Including me. He beat me as well.
Barely. It was so close. It was so close. I think it went down to the last activation, and I won
It was close.
at one point. It was amazing game.
It was
Uh,
great.
so to be honest, everything you said is true, but the thing the on the other hand, I think they definitely lack offense, pure offense. They have the chariots that are very good, but if you take them down, or if you can counter them, then they have only the hunters, raiders that don't hit hard. In my opinion, when I build army and I want to consider that I will probably have to play free folk, I will always include critical hit units to generate the most hit possible. So my logic to beat them is I need to generate the most hit possible, because as you said, you have 6 rounds to kill 12 units. So I need anything that does the most hits, because they don't have a lot of defense. So sundering it's not that good. Precision can be good against the giant. It's not very good. Vicious, it's not that good if you play against Mance as well. It can be okay. Uh, so critical hit for me, it's central. Anything that gives you free attacks, assault order, overrun, it's very good for free charges. If you can have Baelish to double the swords if possible. So These are my main strategies when I would play against free folk. It's the most hits possible that I can do.
Okay. Now, Clements, we're gonna show the screen the two lists that you are suggesting to bring in a tournament. Can you explain us the list quickly?
For sure. The first list, I think, is the standard Mance Radar list. And again, the math is very interesting. All your units are 4 points. You can literally take 10 units of four. But of course, recently, Freefolk got a new release, which is Varamir. So Varamir is 3 points, which means it gives you one extra point to spend. And that extra point is usually spent on Torment. So from the beginning to the end, the list is Mance Raider in Trappers, now, the second unit of trappers, you can switch. You can make it more raiders for a raid leader. You can make it another chariot. So that's a bit of a flex. I like trappers because, again, they're very flexible. The hidden traps is such a great overall tool. They can be used to hold an objective and stay back. So I like two trappers myself. You take raiders, and the attachment in the raiders is very interesting because I think if you want raid leader, it's good because it gives your other units +1 to hit, +1 dice. But it's very interesting because you can also instead use the Bone Lord's. Let me just double check his name here. I think it's called the Bone Lord's Chosen, maybe.
Yeah,
No, no,
I
no.
think the
The
blue.
what's he called? I'm gonna double check on stats. It's the Champion of Bone. Sorry, Champion of Bone.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Champion Bone gives you intimidating presence, and the effect is very similar to a raid leader. The idea is that every attack that hits that unit now has a higher chance to fail panic, and it'll take more panic damage. So both are really good options, I think, to combo into combo attacks essentially. So you got Trapper, Raider, and then the second Raider unit with that point you save by taking Varamir becomes Tormund Giantsbane. He gives unit Stalwart, so the morale +2. Remember that if you're in Mance's bubble, you're now morale 5 +2, so you're morale 3 essentially. Very, very reliable Warcry, and Warcry is humongous for pushing through extra damage, making sure the Chariot will get wounds through. It has Sundering, it has Vicious, so with the Panic Token, you're probably going to fail the Vicious test. And again, when you want to kill a unit off, you try and play There's Too Many for even more modifiers and even more damage. But guaranteeing it, quote unquote, with the panic token is very critical. So Torment is a must-have in every free folk army, in my opinion. And then your last two combat units are double chariot. So again, they just fly around the flanks like wolves, and they charge in to finish off units after they've taken some damage. And your three NCUs are Lady Val, Craster, and Ygritte. Ygritte, again, 4 points, is so flexible. She can slow down enemy threats. She can speed up your threats. Craster, again, can replace zones. And that is great because, in a 3 versus 3, someone's got to take that last zone, which is usually the crown or something crappy. He can change it instead to heal wounds, draw a card. Card draw is very strong. And Val is probably the strongest because these kind of games, these strategy games, is all about movement, all about maneuvering. So to gain an extra retreat or an extra maneuver that other people don't have access to just gives you that ability to surround and overpower your opponent. So that to me is like the standard 10 activation list. And
I,
the
I
second
like it a lot, but before we go to the second list, the only thing that I fight and I seen in I did very hard is me. I was playing again the same list than you, but maybe 9 activation, and he put Walrus champion in the Raiders, and
Walrus Clan Chieftain, yeah.
yes, sorry.
Yeah, very strong.
The fact was that it was almost impossible to kill fast his unit, and that was making the game almost even harder to kill the free folk because 2 wound is 1 wound. That was meaning that you had to kill a lot of unit that can some can you can summon some, and in 6 round was making the game very hard. And on game that, like you said, Game of Thrones, that it's you can do objective point, a victory point, and his raider was not worthing anything. I found it really hard to play that game against free folk, and I found that Walrus champion was surprisingly good, even it was not bringing any offense.
Yeah, I mean it's a 5 point unit, so it's still pretty cheap, and it's as tanky as you can hope for 5 points, right? Half damage and morale 5 near actually it's morale 4 now, right? Because I think they got Iron Resolve as well.
Exactly, in -1 for the panic damage. That means that you have almost a 24 life regiment And even if you fail panic tests, you're not gonna lose as much as you were supposed to be. I'm go. It's a strategy that can uh, be with your list that you can tweak it, maybe add some of them, and I strongly suggest it because when I play against, it was like hell.
Yeah.
What's terrible is, like you said, it's 24 wounds to kill them, and once you kill them, it's 0 points.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, it's an order then if you attack with several unit, but
Yeah,
all
it's one.
understand
But,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's really really hard to kill them. It's
Yeah,
hell
you have
when
to
you
attack
kill
them
them.
twice in the round. Yeah.
Exactly, it's worth nothing. Then I think that free folk when they list build, they bring one kind of the list like this for game that is gonna aim for victory point by holding objective. When you're gonna play other scenario, I think that maybe that is not the best list. Your vanilla list, the one that you just show us, may be better, or the other one that you're gonna show us.
Yeah, for sure. So the second list is a bit different. It's a more aggressive, go get 'em kind of list.
Okay.
It's still 10 activations.
Oh my
so
god.
Wow.
it's still 10 activations. It's Commander Varmir Sixskins. So he brings his two pets, the Shadow Cat and the Wolf Pack. So these three activations cost a mighty 5 points, which is pretty bananas. And the Shadow Cat is cool. It starts off the table, comes in the flanks. It can come behind an archer unit and tie them up. And the pets, of course, can be resummoned with two of his cards. So on top of the endless horde bringing in raider units, he can resummon his pets too to keep his activation count very high. You still take two raiders. One of them again has Torment for the Warcry, and the other one actually takes Barak, the boar skin changer. And the reason why he's there is because he makes the unit again +2 morale. He's got stalwart, so your whole army is morale 5 or better, which makes it again pretty resistant to any kind of panic damage from Mel or red cloaks or that kind of stuff. He also provides hidden traps. Again, I think the hidden traps are actually a very underrated tool to cause chip damage and lets you finish off units a bit easier.
Hmm. Hmm.
Take one chariot just because a chariot for the vicious damage is useful, the speed is useful, and that leaves you enough room to take Mag the Mighty. So you have 10 activations with this massive giant who ignores armor. Mag the Mighty with the card Overwhelming Assault gain critical blow can literally just smash units on his own, one shot them with some critical blows. And you take the same roster of NCUs, Val, Craster, and Ugret. And Val to move Mag, very scary. Craster to heal Mag, very scary. So all the tools really are there to support Mag as he just kind of pushes forward into the middle and just starts smashing things.
I
Yeah, I
love Mag.
agree.
Yeah.
And the pet are still not working any victory points.
Yep.
It's not like Stark Wolf that you say, okay, they are squishy, and if I play them recklessly, I'm gonna lose a point.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, so it's also important because today there's a lot more I feel Baratheon players out there running lots of champions of the stag,
Mm.
and that 2+save is rough. Even for free folk, it's very hard to cause enough damage. But Mag can do a lot, and the hits that come back, if they have final strike, isn't as scary because he gets saves. You need two hits to cause one wound. So yeah, Mag I think is a pretty important piece in one of your lists to counter heavy armor.
That's good. Now, if you add a wish for the faction for a balance pledge, what will be it?
But there's many. I've made many bullet points here. So
All right, nice.
the first thing I'd say is you got to change Mance. He is too obvious of a commander choice, and it's boring that everyone takes Mance. So you need to
Yeah, I
change
agree.
Mance. You got to change the leadership bonus. Either change his rules to embolden, so he gives only +1 morale to people around him, or maybe you take away the rally point. His unit is morale 5, but nobody else is morale. Even then, you still may have to change his cards. His cards are just a little too strong. Maybe diplomacy does D3 wounds instead of D3+1 wounds, but Mance needs to be toned down. At the same time, they need to buff the other commanders so that people actually want to take something that's not Mance and not Varmir. So that's the big one: is change Mance. I think chariots need to be 5 points. I think raiders need to choose insignificant or adaptive, not both. I think you got to choose.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I
Um,
so agree with you
Yeah.
on all
Yeah.
this point. And just a quick parenthesis is that the Chariots is better than the Targaryen one, and they cost 1 point less. Is stupid. I agree so much.
yes.
And
Yes.
if we can go back just to Varamir just for 1 second, I've played against a similar list that you put against my brother that plays Free Folk also,
Huh?
and I realize Varamir, it's crazy because you have 4 cards in your deck that bring back units that give no points.
Yes.
It's crazy because you have 2 endless horde, and you can bring back the cat or the wolf pack. It's terrible, terrible to play against.
Yeah, and the pets are so good at charge blocking. They're so quick.
Yeah,
Something's
yeah,
dangerous coming to threaten you. You know, I think about our game. If we had a wolf that could jump in front of the flayman to block them, and the cat comes back the very next day. It couldn't stay away. The cat came back.
yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. All right, and the other wish was
I think no faction should have the pets for 3 points and Varmer for 3 points. It's ridiculous. Like 3 point activations should not exist in the game, in my opinion. I understand, Freeman exists, but Freeman are very balanced, right? They suck, they have to be babysat. Jorah is a special character, sure, but you don't need to give the faction that has 4 point activations 3 point activations. So they need to rework the pets somehow. I think it's silly that they get cheap activations in
eh,
Free Folk.
me. I don't mind 3 point activation if they were working a victory point.
Exactly, exactly. Cheap, insignificant, activations is
Yeah, that would
ridiculous.
balance it out because I think Freeman do give a victory point.
They don't.
Yeah,
They don't.
so but they don't.
They don't.
Freedman? No, okay.
Yeah. So those are my wishes. Many wishes, and really, there's a long list, but those are the big ones.
All right, but I agree with you 100%. And like you said, they need to change it because right now the free fork are dominating. And in the last big event, I think like in the first 8% that were at the tournament, five were free folk, maybe even more. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not enough variety at the competitive level.